You've probably felt it before. That rising energy at the start of a new habit. That sudden burst of motivation at 11 p.m. You told yourself, this time, it will be different. And for a few days, it was. Then, it vanished. Like vapor. Like a dream you swore you'd remember. Gone by morning. The notebook stayed blank. The gym shoes stayed clean. And the old version of you slowly crept back into your life, quietly, but with confidence, like it always knew you'd return. But here's the truth. You didn't fail because you were weak. You didn't fail because you were lazy. You failed because you never locked the door behind your decision. Every habit is a doorway. But most people keep it half open, still glancing back at comfort, uncertainty, or excuse. And when the storm of distraction comes, they leave. Every time. But what if, this time, you slammed the door shut? What if you turned the lock from the inside and threw away the key? Because the problem isn't starting. It's staying. And that's where this begins. Napoleon Hill said, "Victory is always possible for the person who refuses to stop fighting." You've been starting fights. Now it's time to start finishing them. This is not about motivation. Motivation is fragile. It evaporates in cold rooms and crowded mornings. This is about the formula. A formula designed to take your fragile flame and forge it into something unbreakable. And I want to say this to you, whoever you are, wherever you are. You're not broken. You're not hopeless. You just need to lock it in. This isn't hype. This isn't noise. This is the quiet moment before change. And it begins now. Ask yourself, how many habits have I started that never made it past day 7? How many times have I built hope on Monday and buried it by Friday? How many dreams have I silenced, not with failure, but with forgetting? Napoleon Hill believed that every success begins with a decision, a burning desire that refuses to die. But decisions don't survive in chaos. They need structure. They need protection. They need a formula. That's what you'll get here. But first, a moment of honesty. Look around your life. Right now. How many signs of unfinished things do you see? Books with 10 pages read. Journals with 3 entries. Apps downloaded and never opened. Promises whispered to yourself that never found their voice again. It's not your fault. You were never taught how to stay. You were taught how to start, how to dream, how to want. But not how to lock in. Today, that ends. Because here's the secret. When you lock a habit into your identity, it doesn't ask for motivation anymore. It asks for movement. It becomes your second language. Your background rhythm. You don't fight to do it, you fight when you don't. That's what this formula will give you. Not a temporary high. Not a challenge for a week. But the scaffolding that lets discipline grow like muscle. Quiet. Reliable. Undeniable. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "You are the master of your destiny." You can influence, direct and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be. But how? 3 steps. Simple. Repeatable. Durable. We will not overwhelm. We will not overpromise. We will build. Step by step. But before we go further, you need to make a commitment. Right now. Before the formula. Before the first step. Make this agreement with yourself. I will stay. Not forever. Not perfectly. But for long enough to see the change happen. To watch the dirt shift. The walls rise. The roots take hold. Because once that happens, quitting is no longer an option. Not because it's forbidden. but because it would feel unnatural. That's what we're going to do here. Rebuild what quitting stole. Redesign the moment you usually stop and replace it with something unbreakable. Are you ready? Then say it to yourself. I will stay. That's the first lock. The key turns in the next part. There is a moment each day that decides everything. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It's quiet. A flicker. A single decision that most people miss because they've trained themselves to negotiate. You wake up. The alarm rings. And suddenly, your mind begins the debate. Should I get up now or snooze? Should I do the habit today or wait until later? Is today really the day I start? And just like that, the door reopens. The exit light flickers on. And your decision walks away. But listen carefully. If your habit is negotiable, it will never be permanent. Napoleon Hill wrote, "A definite chief aim is the starting point of all achievement." Definite. Not flexible. Not conditional. Not if I feel like it. But fixed. This is the first step of the habit lock formula. Make the start of your habit non-negotiable. What does that mean? It means you tie your habit to a trigger that requires zero debate. No opinions. No votes. No emotion. Just action. Like this. When I brush my teeth, I write one sentence in my journal. When I close my laptop at 6 p.m., I go for a 10-minute walk. When I sit at my desk, I set a 5-minute timer and start. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that it happens. Automatically. Predictably. Like breathing. Like blinking. Why? Because your brain is wired to protect energy. And negotiation takes energy. So your mind will always try to save you from change, from effort, from uncertainty. But when there is no room for negotiation, your brain adapts. It says, "Oh, this is what we do now." No conflict. No hesitation. Just rhythm. This is what Napoleon Hill called autosuggestion. He said, "Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. By repeating the act, without question, without debate, you install the habit into your identity." Let me ask you, do you debate brushing your teeth? Do you think about whether or not to drink water? No. You just do it. Because it's who you are. That's the goal. Your habit must become so automatic that it no longer feels like a decision. It feels like part of you. Like your name. Like your heartbeat. And here's the real power of this first step. You don't need to start big. You don't need to do 100 push-ups. You don't need to write a chapter. You don't need to meditate for an hour. You just need one small, precise, automatic trigger. Why? Because small doesn't mean weak. Small means repeatable. And repeatable means unbreakable. Napoleon Hill warned against the trap of vague goals. He said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief comes from doing. And doing starts with one clear moment. Here's what I want you to do. Right now, decide what your non-negotiable starting point will be. Not tomorrow. Not next Monday. Right now. Choose a trigger. Something you already do every day without fail. Then attach your habit to it like a magnet. After coffee, 3 deep breaths. After waking up, write your focus for the day. After lunch, read 1 paragraph. That's it. Keep it so small, so easy, so obvious that your brain can't fight it. Because once you start, you change. Momentum doesn't come from effort. It comes from movement. and movement begins with one locked-in decision. This step is the ignition key. Everything else builds from here. No more I'll try. No more I'll see how I feel. From now on, you know when it begins. That is your anchor. That is your structure. That is step one. And once you set it, something amazing happens. You stop asking, should I? And start becoming, I do. Are you ready? Then pick your trigger. Pick your micro action. And lock it in. We move to step 2 next, where things start getting stronger, deeper, and more automatic. Because once the habit starts, it needs a system to survive. Now that you've chosen a non-negotiable starting point, it's time to protect it. A habit, once started, is like a seed. But even the strongest seed cannot survive if the soil changes every day. If the sun comes at random hours. If the rain arrives only when it feels like it. That's how most people treat their habits. They give them inconsistent time, inconsistent space, and then wonder why nothing grows. Napoleon Hill said, "Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not. Not when it feels right. Not when inspiration strikes. Begin at once. With a plan." And that's the second lock in the formula. Fix your time and fix your place. This means your habit happens at the same time each day, in the same location, under the same conditions. Why? Because your brain loves patterns. Patterns conserve energy. And the more predictable your habit is, the less resistance it faces. Let me explain. Imagine this. You want to build a reading habit. You say you'll fit it in sometime during the day. But the day floods in. Messages, deadlines, meals, noise, and reading gets pushed further and further until it's forgotten. Now imagine this instead. Every day at 9:30 p.m., you sit on the same corner of your couch. You put your phone in a drawer. You open the same book and read one page. The brain says, "Oh, I know what this is." You've created a scene. You've created a cue. You've eliminated the friction. And that's the magic phrase here. Zero friction. Friction is the invisible enemy of every habit. It's the small delay. The search for a pen. The battery that died. The "I'll do it after this one thing." Friction delays behavior. Delay invites debate. Debate kills momentum. So how do we fight friction? We standardize the trigger. Same time. Same place. Same action. You become the kind of person who does this thing, here, now. Every day. No matter what. Let's say you want to meditate. Which of these sounds more solid? I'll meditate when I have time. At 7 a.m., I sit on the balcony chair, close my eyes, and breathe for 1 minute. One is a wish. The other is a system. Napoleon Hill believed deeply in systems. He wrote, "Success is the result of definite decisions, expressed in definite plans, executed by definite action. Everything vague becomes weak. Everything definite becomes strong. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to do it predictably." Let me give you a simple structure. Time plus place plus object equals lock-in. 8 a.m. plus kitchen table plus glass of water equals write your goal. 6 p.m. plus living room mat plus candle equals stretch for 5 minutes. 9:30 p.m. plus nightstand plus journal equals reflect on one win. Now the environment becomes your partner. Your space begins to work for you. That's the beauty of this step. You don't rely on memory. You don't rely on feeling. You rely on scene design. You program your space like software. And once the habit is installed, it runs without bugs. Hill called this the power of organized thinking. When you organize your time and your space, your thoughts follow. So here's your challenge. Look at the habit you chose in step 1. Now answer these 3 questions. What exact time will it happen? What exact place will it happen? What object will be involved? Write it down. Post it somewhere. Repeat it out loud if you need to. Because when your brain sees the same signal every day, it stops asking questions. It just acts. An action, repeated without friction, becomes identity. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever you can conceive and believe, you can achieve." Conceive the habit. Believe in the system. Now build the scene that brings it to life. You've planted the seed in step 1. Now you've given it light, water, and space. In step 3, we give it energy. Because every living habit needs one thing to survive: reward. Let's unlock it next. Habits do not survive on discipline alone. They survive on energy, and that energy comes from feedback. You see, most people believe the reward of a habit comes later. But that belief kills consistency. Because if your mind only gets satisfaction after 30 days, 10 pounds lost, or 1 book finished, it loses interest fast. Napoleon Hill knew this. He wrote, "Desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen pulsating desire which transcends everything." Desire lives in emotion. And emotion is shaped by how we feel immediately after action. That's why step 3 in the habit lock formula is this. Build a feedback loop that feeds you instantly. Not someday. Not next week. Now. Let me show you how it works. You do your habit, even if it's small. And right after, you reward it. Not with food. Not with money. But with a feeling. With acknowledgement. With momentum. You say to yourself, "I'm proud of that. I just kept a promise to myself. That's who I'm becoming." It may sound small. But that moment, that self-recognition, is the difference between quitting and continuing. Most people do a habit and move on. They skip the part where the brain says, "Yes, that mattered." So the brain doesn't encode it. It doesn't highlight it. It files it away as forgettable. But when you reward it, even emotionally, your brain leans forward. It says, "Wait. This matters. Let's do that again." Napoleon Hill called this emotionalized autosuggestion. The idea that thoughts become real when charged with emotion. He wrote, "Faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion." That means, when you combine repeated action with positive emotion, belief is born. And belief is the strongest habit of all. So how do we build this loop? Here are a few tools. Mini celebration, smile. Nod. Say yes out loud. That tiny gesture rewires your response system. Track it visually, a simple X on the calendar. A tally. A mark. Every visual check is a vote for your new identity. Reflect it inward, write down one sentence: "I did it today. I followed through." That reinforces trust. Stack momentum words, say to yourself, "Still going." Another brick. Still building. Simple phrases. Big echoes. You're training your mind to see completion as reward. Not perfection. Not performance. Just the act of doing it. Because when doing becomes the reward, you've escaped the trap of motivation. Let me give you an example. Imagine a person trying to build a writing habit. She writes 50 words a day. Tiny, yes. But every day, she lights a candle, writes her words, and says out loud, "That's 50 more than yesterday." Then she marks an X on her wall calendar. 1 day. Then 2. Then 10. Soon the satisfaction isn't in the number of words. It's in the chain. The streak. The unbroken promise. That's power. That's momentum. That's a habit that feeds itself. Napoleon Hill said, "Success comes to those who become success conscious." You become conscious of success by seeing it daily, even in small doses. Here's what I want you to do. Look at the habit you've chosen. You already have a trigger. You already have a scene. Now add the final lock. What will you do after your habit to reward it emotionally? Will you say done out loud? Put a sticker on your calendar? Close your journal with a satisfied breath? Whisper, still building under your breath? Pick one. Make it part of the rhythm. Because every habit needs a heartbeat. Something that tells the brain, we did it. We're alive. Let's do it again tomorrow. No cheering crowds. No gold medals. Just your own quiet voice saying, "I kept going." That's the reward. And over time, it becomes stronger than discipline. Because it becomes who you are. In the next chapter, we'll talk about why you used to quit. And how this 3-step formula rewires your brain to stay even when the old version of you comes knocking. You've now locked the habit. Next, we make it stay through storms. You've made promises before. You've said, "This time will be different." And still, the cycle repeated. Start strong. Feel the fire. Then life gets loud. The habit fades. And you're left staring at the broken pieces of yet another try. Why does this happen? It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're lazy. It's because your old identity keeps dragging you back. Napoleon Hill warned us long ago. The greatest achievement was, at first, and for a time, but a dream. And dreams get crushed not by failure, but by friction. You quit not because the task was hard, but because the self that started it was temporary. Fueled by hope. Not structure. Powered by motivation. Not belief. Let's go deeper. Every time you start something new, your current self begins to change. It stretches. It grows. But your old self, the one that's comfortable with routine, distraction, and shortcuts, feels threatened. So it fights back. With thoughts like, "You've tried this before. You're too tired today. What's the point anyway? One miss won't hurt." And sometimes it wins. Not because it's right, but because it's familiar. The brain loves the known. Even if the known is unhelpful. Even if the known is harmful. Because the known feels safe. But Hill taught this. No man can succeed in a line of endeavor which he does not like. What does that mean here? It means you must learn to enjoy the process of persistence. Not the rush. Not the outcome. But the quiet, invisible act of staying. The 3-step formula you've learned is not just a technique. It's a system for identity change. Every time you follow the trigger, show up in your space and celebrate the effort. You weaken the grip of the old self and reinforce the new one. Let's call them what they are. The old self is the quitter. The new self is the builder. Every day, with every action, you cast a vote for who wins. And here's the twist most people miss. You don't have to kill the quitter. You just have to stop feeding it. Every skipped day, every excuse, every negotiation, it feeds the quitter. But every repetition, Every tiny win? Every reward loop? It feeds the builder. The quitter is loud. The builder is quiet. But the builder is steady. And steady wins. So how do we protect the builder? Here are 3 strategies. 1. Expect resistance. Plan for it. Hill wrote, "Most great people have attained their greatest success just one step beyond their greatest failure. That step, the one where most people quit, is predictable. So prepare for it. If you miss one day, plan how you'll recover. If you feel bored, review your why. If you feel tired, scale down, but still do it. Quitting isn't falling. Quitting is not getting back up." 2. Surround your habit with identity. Don't just say, "I'm writing." Say, "I am a writer." Don't just say, "I'm meditating." Say, "I am someone who finds stillness." Hill believed that belief itself is the foundation. He wrote, "What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Attach your habit to who you are becoming, not what you're doing. 3. Use reflection to reinforce momentum. Each week, ask, "What did I do right? What pulled me off course? What pattern can I fix?" Self-reflection transforms mistakes into insight. And insight fuels persistence. You didn't used to reflect. You used to forget. That's why you quit. Now you remember. Now you observe. Now you adjust. And that makes all the difference. Let's be honest. The quitter in you will never fully disappear. But it will get quieter. Smaller. Weaker. As long as you feed the builder more than the quitter, you win. Because success isn't about one massive act. It's about 1,000 small ones done when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when even you aren't sure it matters. But it does. Napoleon Hill said, "The ladder of success is never crowded at the top." You don't need to race anyone. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep climbing. One habit. One lock. One day at a time. You now understand the system. But in the next chapter, we make it permanent by installing the keystone habit that powers everything else. Are you ready to make this more than a habit? Are you ready to make it who you are? Let's go deeper. Imagine a single habit so powerful that once it locks into place, every other part of your life starts to shift with it. Your mind sharpens. Your choices improve. Your mood lifts. Your time multiplies. And the rest of your habits follow it like stars orbiting a hidden sun. Napoleon Hill understood this. He didn't just study success, he dissected it. And again, he came back to definite focus. He wrote, "Set your mind on a definite goal and observe how quickly the world stands aside to let you pass." That goal? It lives inside a habit. A habit we call the keystone. A keystone habit is the one decision that simplifies all others. It's not always dramatic. Often, it's small. Quiet. But it holds everything together. Let me explain. For some people, the keystone habit is waking up early. Not because 5 a.m. is magic, but because waking early sets their pace, their choices, their self-trust. For others, it's writing every morning, or moving their body, or planning their day. It's the habit that, when done, makes everything else easier or even unnecessary. What's yours? Let's find out. Start by asking, what's the one action I've done before that made me feel unstoppable? What's the habit that, when active, pulls my life together? What's the smallest repeatable act that gives me control back? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's a 2-minute breath routine. Maybe it's preparing your space the night before. Whatever it is, it's your anchor. Napoleon Hill believed that control begins with clarity. He wrote, "Whatever you do, do it with all your might. Work at it, early and late, in season and out of season, not letting up, but pressing forward." Keystone habits are the gateway to that kind of momentum. Let's look at the qualities of a real keystone habit. It's easy to do every day. No barriers. No tools. No excuses. It gives you emotional return immediately. You feel better just doing it. It creates positive ripple effects. You eat better. You speak clearer. You stand taller. It doesn't have to be big, but it must be yours. For example, 5 minutes of planning each morning can turn your day from chaos into calm. 1 glass of water after waking can start a cascade of better decisions. 10 minutes of reading can rewire how you speak, think, and act. And once you find it, treat it like fire. Protect it. Repeat it. Track it. Feed it. Because once a keystone habit is alive, you don't need 20 rules. You need one rule you never break. Hill once said, "Success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis." When you live by your keystone habit, you stop needing motivation. You stop needing constant willpower. You become aligned. Let's go practical. Step 1. Choose your keystone habit. Ask, what's the one habit I know would improve everything else if I did it consistently? It could be writing for 5 minutes, stretching at dawn, setting a daily intention, reviewing your goals aloud. Choose just one. Step 2. Lock it into a time and place. Use what you've learned. Anchor it to a trigger. Use the same location. Eliminate negotiation. Example. At 6:30 a.m. in the kitchen, I say my goals out loud while making coffee. Simple, but powerful. Step 3. Celebrate it daily. Never let it go unnoticed. Say, "That's me." Smile. Mark the moment. Own the identity. Because this habit is not a task. It's the central command system of your entire direction. And once it's locked, you'll notice something strange. You'll want to do other good habits. Not because you should, but because your system is moving. And movement compounds. Napoleon Hill spoke of this as hypnotic rhythm. The idea that repeated action becomes self-perpetuating. He wrote, "You are now engaged in building thought habits which will either make you or break you. Your keystone habit is the lever. Push it daily, and you shift your entire inner system. No more scattered goals. No more random starts. No more quitting every 3 weeks. Just one habit, done relentlessly. Everything else begins to arrange itself around it. That's the power of the keystone. That's the center of your new identity. And in the next part, we'll build on this foundation. By designing a simple system to track, adjust, and reinforce your new structure. You don't just want a habit. You want habit integrity. Let's build it next. At some point, motivation will leave you. The excitement will fade. The challenge will feel old. And you'll wake up with no desire to continue. That moment is not a crisis. It's expected. Because habits that last are not powered by hype. They're held by habit integrity. Napoleon Hill knew this better than most. He didn't say, "Stay motivated." He said, "Do not wait, the time will never be just right. Start where you stand." And the way to keep going when everything inside says stop is to rely on your system, not your feelings. So what is habit integrity? It's the invisible structure that keeps your habit safe, even when you don't feel strong. It's a way of living that says, "This is what I do. no matter how I feel. It's not rigid. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about designing your environment, expectations, and rules so success becomes the path of least resistance. Let's break it down. Step 1. Create a visual tracker. If your progress is invisible, your mind forgets it. But if your progress is visible daily, immediate, clear, it becomes real. Napoleon Hill believed in measurable advancement. He wrote, "What you measure, you can improve. Use a calendar, a wall chart, a simple notebook. Make it physical. Make it obvious. Draw a box for every day you follow through. Put an X, a dot, a sticker, anything. Keep the chain going. Why? Because one mark becomes a streak. A streak becomes a story. And your brain fights harder to keep a story alive than a goal achieved." Step 2. Define your minimum baseline. Most people fail because they only commit to maximum effort. I'll run 5 miles. I'll write 1,000 words. I'll meditate for 30 minutes. And when life hits, they do nothing. Because perfection was the only option. But the builder knows this truth. Consistency beats intensity. So create a no-excuse version of your habit. For example, if you can't run 5 miles, walk for 5 minutes. If you can't write 1,000 words, write 1 sentence. If you can't meditate 30 minutes, sit still for 60 seconds. Minimum effort. Maximum integrity. You didn't break the chain. You adapted. You honored the identity. Napoleon Hill said, "Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. Even a small dose, done daily, builds unbreakable strength." Step 3. Build a reset protocol. One day, you will fall off. You'll forget. You'll skip. Life will interrupt. But falling off isn't failure. Staying off is. So create a reset plan before you need it. Answer these. If I miss one day, what's my comeback cue? Who will I text or call for accountability? What phrase will I say to reclaim momentum? Example. If I miss a day, I restart by writing back on track at the top of my journal. Simple. Immediate. Clean. No guilt. No delay. Just return. Because builders don't wait for perfection. They recover faster than they fall. Step 4. Set a weekly check-in. Success doesn't come from daily grind alone. It comes from weekly reflection. Choose a time, Sunday morning, Friday night, Monday at lunch. And ask, what worked this week? What got in the way? What pattern do I need to change? Write it down. Speak it out. Let your mind review its own progress. Hill taught this as organized planning. He believed that constant adjustment is the path to mastery. He wrote, "No man achieves success without a definite plan, followed persistently." Your check-in is that plan. It turns activity into alignment. It's not just about doing. It's about understanding why you do, and how to do it better. When you do this, week after week, your system begins to think with you. You no longer rely on willpower. You rely on design. You rely on rhythm. You rely on the integrity of what you've built. Let me remind you, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about building habits that hold themselves up. Not by magic, but by scaffolding, by structure, by systems. You already have the formula, the trigger, the space, the reward, the keystone. Now you add the shield, the protection layer, the integrity. And in the next chapter, we'll talk about the biggest sabotage of all, comparison. How it kills progress silently. And how Napoleon Hill taught us to defeat it with focus and faith. Because habit is internal. But comparison is external. Let's end that cycle next. You've started building. You've locked your habit. You've created your system. But there's still a voice. A shadow. Something that whispers. You're behind. Others are better. You're not going fast enough. That voice is comparison. And it's the quiet killer of long-term success. Napoleon Hill saw this danger clearly. He wrote, "You are the master of your destiny. You can influence, direct and control your own environment. But here's the catch. When you focus too much on other people's paths, you abandon control of your own. Comparison distracts. It delays. It drains belief like a leak in your momentum. You see someone posting results on day 10. You feel like you're still on day 1. You see perfect routines, perfect bodies, perfect schedules. And your small, quiet effort feels weak. But it's not. Let's be clear. Your habit is not a performance. It's a practice. It's not for approval. It's for transformation. You don't owe anyone a progress report. You don't owe anyone speed. You owe yourself consistency. That's the only metric that matters. Hill said, "Do not wait for a definite plan. Begin now. The plan will come through action." He didn't say watch what others are doing. He said begin. Because every minute spent watching someone else is a minute you're not building your own rhythm. Comparison turns the mind outward. Faith turns it inward. So how do we kill comparison? You don't need to ignore everyone else. You need to anchor deeper into your own path. Here's how. Step 1. Track only what you control. You can't control how fast someone else grows. You can't control their habits, their followers, their pace. You can control your trigger, your scene, your check-in, your keystone. Track those. Celebrate those. If someone else writes a book in a month, but you've written every day for a week, you win. Because you're building foundation, not a highlight reel. Step 2. Replace envy with curiosity. When you feel comparison rise, pause. Ask, what exactly am I comparing? Is this something I want or just something they have? What can I learn from this without losing my lane? Turn envy into study. But never let it rewrite your journey. You're not them. And that's your greatest asset. Because only you can build your rhythm. Only you can design a structure that fits your mind, your time, your goals. Hill wrote, "The starting point of all achievement is desire. Not imitation. Desire." Step 3. Set a personal metric. Choose a phrase that defines your journey. Something no algorithm can measure. Something no graph can chart. For example, I show up. I keep the chain. I honor the process. Still building. Repeat it daily. Let it outshine all metrics. Because in a world screaming for validation, your quiet effort is powerful. You're not building noise. You're building roots. And roots don't grow in the spotlight. They grow underground. Silently. Steadily. Until one day, they break the surface with strength no one can deny. Napoleon Hill warned, "Most people drift through life without a definite purpose, which is the equivalent of drifting without aim." Comparison is drifting. Focus is aim. So aim inward. Aim daily. Aim deliberately. You don't need to beat anyone. You just need to beat yesterday's excuses. That's it. Let your effort be your identity. Let your rhythm be your reputation. Let your belief be louder than your doubt. And in the next part, we'll talk about how to protect that belief. By building a daily rhythm so strong that it becomes your invisible superpower. Because when your days become predictable, your future becomes inevitable. Let's design that next. There's a moment in every great transformation when discipline becomes rhythm. When effort becomes instinct. And when you no longer ask, should I do this? Because it's simply what you do. This is the moment when success becomes inevitable. Not because you're lucky. Not because you're gifted. But because you've built a daily rhythm that moves forward even when your mind hesitates. Napoleon Hill called this hypnotic rhythm. A state where thought, action, and habit become one. He wrote, "You are now engaged in building thought habits which will either make you or break you. So let's build the ones that make you. Let's build the rhythm that runs so deep, it carries you even on your worst days. Because motivation is optional. Rhythm is not. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Define your core 3. Not every task deserves your daily energy. But 3 actions, done consistently, will reshape your life faster than any 30-day challenge. We call them your core 3. Your keystone habit. 1 supporting habit. 1 well-being habit. Example. Keystone, review goals aloud every morning. Supporting, write 100 words before noon. Well-being, walk 15 minutes after dinner. These 3 become the non-negotiable pillars of your day. Everything else is bonus. Why 3? Because 3 is powerful enough to transform you. And small enough to survive distraction, stress, and schedule shifts. Hill believed in controlled focus. He said, concentration of effort and definiteness of purpose are the starting points of all successful achievement. Your core 3 is that concentration. Step 2. Assign each to a time anchor. Time creates rhythm. So don't leave your core 3 floating. Lock each into a fixed daily time. Morning. Midday. Evening. Example. 7:30 a.m. Say goals aloud while making coffee. 12 p.m. Write 100 words before lunch. 8 p.m. Walk for 15 minutes before shower. Now your rhythm has a beat. Not random. Not reactive. But predictable. And what is predictable becomes sustainable. Step 3. Use the even if rule. Life happens. You will be tired. You will travel. You will get distracted. But if your rhythm breaks at the first bump, it's not strong enough yet. So for each habit, create an even if rule. Even if I'm tired, I'll do 1 minute. Even if I forget in the morning, I'll do it at lunch. Even if I'm traveling, I'll do a voice note. This rule turns chaos into continuity. Napoleon Hill wrote, persistence is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Your even if rule is that sustained effort. Step 4. Stack micro checkpoints. Each part of your rhythm should have a checkpoint, a small action that verifies, yes, I did it. It could be crossing a box, moving a token, clicking a sound, saying a phrase. Why? Because humans need closure. When you confirm an action, your mind receives reward. And reward reinforces identity. Each checkpoint becomes a heartbeat of success. A signal that says, I am still moving. Step 5. Review your rhythm weekly. Rhythm must be tuned, like an instrument. Each week, ask, what felt frictionless? What felt forced? What needs adjusting? Update your time anchors. Simplify your checkpoints. Swap habits if necessary. You're not chained to your rhythm. You collaborate with it. And every adjustment is a message. I care enough to grow. Napoleon Hill said, "One sound idea is all that one needs to achieve success." Your rhythm is that idea executed daily. Let's summarize. Your core 3 sets the foundation. Time anchors keep it grounded. Even if rules make it storm-proof. Checkpoints create reward. Weekly reviews keep it sharp. This is how you stop relying on feelings. This is how you build a rhythm that carries you forward on autopilot. This is how you shift from doing to being. Because once the rhythm is strong, success is no longer a goal. It's the default. Napoleon Hill believed that your subconscious becomes your servant. But only when you feed it rhythm, repetition, pattern. In the next part, we go even deeper. We connect your rhythm to a long-term vision. We stretch today's habits into tomorrow's legacy. Because you're not just building habits. You're building a life philosophy. Let's align them next. You've built habits. You've built systems. You've created rhythm. But there's a higher level. A shift from routine to meaning. From repetition to alignment. Because the goal is not just to do things every day. The goal is to become someone every day. Someone who lives with direction, clarity, and inner truth. Napoleon Hill didn't just teach habits. He taught philosophy. A way of thinking. A way of living. He wrote, "Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief must go deeper than outcomes. It must reach your core. It must guide who you are, not just what you do." That's what this chapter is about. Turning your habits into a life code. Step 1. Define the identity you serve. Every habit serves a deeper truth. You don't wake up early just to wake up. You do it because you believe in discipline. You don't write daily just to produce pages. You do it because you believe in creation, in clarity. So ask yourself, what values do my habits protect? What kind of person do I become through this rhythm? What do I stand for when no one is watching? This is your philosophy seed. Plant it. Napoleon Hill said, "Every man is what he is, because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind." Your habits are physical expressions of those thoughts. They are your values acted out. So choose them carefully. Honor them daily. Step 2. Write your 3-line code. Let's simplify. Create your 3-line code of conduct. Not a mission statement. Not a slogan. Just 3 short truths you live by. Examples. I move with purpose, not impulse. I finish what I start, no matter how small. I build more than I consume. Or, I protect my mornings. I lead with clarity. I repeat the process. These 3 lines become your compass. When motivation wavers. When direction blurs. When distraction tempts. They remind you who you are becoming. Repeat them aloud. Write them where you can see. Let them echo. Napoleon Hill believed that repeated suggestion is how the mind shapes destiny. He called it autosuggestion with emotional impact. Your code is that suggestion. Step 3. Align your weekly decisions. Your daily habits mean nothing if your bigger decisions betray them. So every week, check your alignment. Are your time choices serving your values? Are your projects aligned with your identity? Are you saying yes to distractions that steal your integrity? This isn't punishment. It's refinement. You adjust. You realign. You step closer to your truth. This is how ordinary habits become extraordinary clarity. Because when your day and your direction agree, your life moves forward with power. Hill wrote, "Success comes to those who become success conscious. To be success conscious is to be philosophy conscious. To live by design, not default." Step 4. Measure the right outcomes. The world tells you to measure money, followers, deadlines hit, milestones reached. But your philosophy tells you to measure integrity kept, consistency shown, character revealed, promises honored. You will not always feel progress. But if you are living in alignment with your code, you are moving forward. Even if it's quiet. Even if it's slow. Even if no one sees it but you. That is real power. Because that kind of success can't be taken from you. Napoleon Hill said, "Success in life depends upon happiness, and happiness is found in doing, not merely possessing." You are doing. You are becoming. You are living your philosophy. And that's something no algorithm, trend, or failure can erase. Step 5. Teach by living. Your habits are not just for you. They are your message. Your ripple. Your legacy. When people see consistency in you, when they see peace, discipline, clarity, they listen differently. Because you're not preaching. You're proving. You don't have to shout. Just show up. Every day. With rhythm. With alignment. With peace. That's leadership. And leadership, as Hill taught, is not about control. It's about character. He wrote, "More gold has been mined from the mines of men than the earth itself." You are mining that gold now, through action, through alignment, through rhythm. You are no longer just building habits. You're building a life philosophy, one step, one day, one pattern at a time. And in the next chapter, we'll anchor this even deeper. We'll explore how your environment, physical and digital, can either support or sabotage everything you've built. Because once the inside is aligned, the outside must follow. Let's design that world next. You've done the inner work. You've set habits. You've created rhythm. You've aligned your identity with your action. Now it's time to master the outer world. Because even the strongest habit can break under the wrong conditions. Even the most disciplined mind can drown in clutter, noise, and friction. Napoleon Hill understood this. He wrote, "Your only limitation is the one you set up in your own mind." But here's what most people miss. Many of those limitations are triggered by the environment they never control. The wrong space weakens decision. The wrong people plant doubt. The wrong systems create chaos. That's why this chapter is about environmental design. So your world supports your habits, not sabotages them. Let's get specific. Step 1. Clear the visual field. Your eyes tell your brain what matters. And your brain follows that lead. If your desk is cluttered, your focus scatters. If your room is noisy, your peace fractures. If your phone is flashing, your intention leaks. So ask, what do I see every day that pulls me away from who I want to be? Then, remove visual distractions. Simplify your workspace. Create one focus zone where only your keystone habit lives. Even 10% less clutter equals 50% more clarity. Napoleon Hill believed in deliberate space. He wrote, "Whatever you plant in your subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality." Visual chaos disrupts that nourishment. Clean space equals clean mind equals deep habit. Step 2. Audit your digital triggers. Your phone is a portal either into purpose or into distraction. So treat it with respect. Ask yourself, what apps steal my best time? What notifications pull me out of flow? What voices online weaken my belief? Now act. Turn off 90% of notifications. Delete or hide apps that feed doubt or distraction. Move creation tools, notes, camera, recorder to your home screen. Make distraction harder. Make discipline convenient. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. Step 3. Build a ritual zone. Anchor your keystone habit in a physical location, even a small one. It could be a chair by the window for reading, a corner of your desk for journaling, a single mat on the floor for stretching. That place becomes sacred. Your mind will associate it with action. You'll feel it the moment you step there. This is where I build. Environment teaches the brain faster than intention. If your space says focus, you'll focus. If it says scroll, you'll scroll. So train it. Shape it. Let it work for you. Step 4. Design people proximity. People are powerful inputs. Some energize. Some drain. Some reflect who you want to be. Some reflect who you're trying to leave behind. You don't need to cut people off. But you do need to consciously position them. Ask, who makes me feel more aligned after spending time with them? Who consistently derails my rhythm? Who walks the path I want to follow? Then adjust. Schedule more time with builders. Limit exposure to drifters. Share your rhythm with allies who can hold space for it. You become the average of your exposure. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Men take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony." Surround wisely. Energy is contagious. Step 5. Create a default reset world. Sometimes you'll fall out of rhythm. And in those moments, you need your environment to pull you back. So create reset anchors. A song that reboots your mood. A scent that reminds you of your morning habit. A single sentence written on your mirror, still building. Your environment is your silent coach. If you train it well, it will call you back to the path even when you drift. That's the difference between a habit that survives and a habit that compounds. You're not just living in your environment. You're designing it. Napoleon Hill said, "The world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going." Make your space show that. Make your tools reflect that. Make your world whisper, every day, "This is who I am." You've now aligned your mind, your habits, your philosophy, and your environment. In the final chapter, we'll bring it all together. Because a locked habit is powerful. But a locked identity is unstoppable. Let's finish this journey strong. You started with a question. Why do I always quit? Why do I begin with fire? Only to return to the same old ashes? Now you know. It's not about motivation. It's not about willpower. It's about identity. Because the real goal of this journey isn't just to build habits. It's to become the kind of person who doesn't need to rebuild them anymore. Napoleon Hill said, "First comes thought, then organization of that thought into ideas and plans, then transformation of those plans into reality." You've done that. You've built the thought. You've organized the system. Now it's time to seal it into who you are. This final chapter is about identity lock. Not a moment. Not a burst of motivation. But a full integration of everything you've built into the story you live by. Step 1. Claim the identity. No more waiting until you're perfect. No more saying, "I'm trying." You don't say, "I'm trying to be a reader." You say, "I am a reader." You don't say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You say, I am disciplined. The sooner you claim it, the sooner your brain aligns with it. Because identity shapes behavior. And repeated behavior reinforces identity. It's a loop. You're already in it. Now take control of it. Speak it daily. Write it boldly. Live it quietly, but completely. Napoleon Hill said, "What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." The key word is believe. And belief starts with what you say when no one's listening. Step 2. Anchor your story. All behavior is a story you're telling yourself. So what's yours? Are you the one who starts and stops forever? Or the one who keeps showing up even when it's quiet, even when it's hard? Write the new version. I am a finisher. I am consistent, not perfect. I honor my word. I recover quickly. I protect my peace. I show up, no matter what. This becomes your personal script. Say it. See it. Repeat it. Until your actions no longer feel like tasks. They feel like truth. Step 3. Make quitting feel foreign. You will still face resistance. That's not the problem. The problem is familiarity with quitting. We don't fear what we've normalized. So you must denormalize giving up. How? By training your brain to see quitting as a complete contradiction of who you are. I don't quit isn't a rule. It's a reflection. When you miss a day, your system pulls you back. When you break the chain, your identity feels tension. When you drift, your world reminds you where to return. That's habit integrity fused with self-concept. And that's the lock. Napoleon Hill said, "Until you have formed the habit of looking for the good instead of the bad, you are not likely to become successful." Look for the good in you. Spot the builder. Spot the pattern. Spot the progress. The quitter is a shadow. You don't fight it. You just stop feeding it. Step 4. Build your anti-quit ritual. Every master has a ritual that protects their standard. So create yours. When you feel the urge to quit, you will. Sit down in silence for 60 seconds. Repeat your identity statement 3 times. Open your tracker and review the chain. Take one micro-action, even 30 seconds, toward your habit. Say, "Still building." That's it. A system. A signal. A soul reset. The goal is not to never feel weak. The goal is to make weakness powerless over your rhythm. Step 5. Leave the door open for growth, not escape. You're not done. You never will be. And that's the point. Your goal isn't a finish line. It's a new way of walking. A way of thinking. A way of being. So keep the door open, not to quitting, but to expansion. More depth. More alignment. More quiet strength. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle." You are in that effort. You are in that growth. And now, you're no longer someone who tries. You're someone who locks in. Final words, you are the lock. Let's remember. You don't need motivation when you have a system. You don't need perfection when you have rhythm. You don't need to fear quitting when you've built identity. You've learned the formula. You've tested the process. Now live the outcome. Because quitting is no longer an option. Not because you force it, but because it simply doesn't match who you are anymore. So from today forward, you walk differently. Not faster. Not louder. Just more deeply you. Still building. Still aligned. Still going. Because now, you're locked in. You've made it to the end. But this isn't the end. This is your beginning. You've seen the pattern. You've learned the formula. Now the only question left is, will you stay? Because most people won't. They'll nod. They'll agree. And then, they'll drift. But not you. Not this time. Not after everything you've built here. You don't need to sprint. You don't need to shine. You just need to show up again tomorrow. That's the power now resting in your hands. Small, quiet, undeniable. And if you're ready to walk this path, not for a week, not for a trend, but for a lifetime, then this is your space. This is your tribe. This is your reminder that you're not walking alone. Direct hit type day 1 in the comments if today marks your new beginning. Calendar let the world see your commitment. We'll meet you there. Bell hit subscribe to lock in this rhythm with us. Thumbs up click like if something here spoke to you. Speech balloon share your habit journey in the comments, we read every one. And if you know someone who always starts, but never finishes, send this to them. It might just be the spark they need. But don't go far. Because next time, we're going even deeper. In the next episode, we'll guide you into the most powerful experiment you'll ever run on yourself. The 30-day no-skip challenge. No more excuses. No more resets. Just 30 days. No skips. One habit. One transformation. If you've ever said, I just need to stick with it, this next video is your blueprint. Until then, stay grounded. Stay focused. Stay locked in. We'll see you in the next one.